The wind rattled the old windows of Grover Hill Academy, like restless whispers begging to be heard. It was the kind of school with a polished smile on the outside, but shadows in its halls, shadows that clung to the walls long after the bell rang, waiting for the right moment to slither into the lives of students who dared to be different. No one understood that better than 17-year-old Aaliyah Monroe, a sharp-minded, soft-spoken black girl with a fire behind her amber eyes that she had learned to hide behind silence. Her mother called it wisdom. Her grandmother called it prophecy. But in this school, it was called a threat. Aaliyah had just transferred from a magnet program in Chicago after her family moved to a small southern town to care for her ailing grandfather. She walked into Mr. Carrigan's AP history class carrying three things: her books, her grandmother's worn leather journal, and the legacy of being too smart for her own good. Mr. Dennis Carrigan, a silver-haired man with eyes like cold steel and a voice that cracked like a whip, had built his reputation on rigid order, outdated beliefs, and the silent thrill of control. He didn't teach so much as command, and students didn't learn, they submitted. Until Aaliyah, Mr. Carrigan, noticed her on the first day not for her questions, but for the way she didn't ask any. She just knew. Dates, facts, events, spilling. Them out with effortless clarity that left her classmates in awe and her teacher uneasy. He began to test her in subtle ways, then cruel ones, extra homework, public put-downs, twisting her words into traps. But Aaliyah never faltered. Every time he pushed her, she pushed back with something more dangerous than rebellion: knowledge, precision, calm. What Mr. Carrigan didn't know, what no one knew, was that Aaliyah wasn't just intelligent. She was following a thread. Her grandmother, who once taught at this very school decades ago, had scribbled cryptic messages in that leather-bound journal, clues about Grover Hill, about unexplained events that no one talked about anymore, about a family mystery that had been buried beneath honor codes and PTA meetings, secrets that Aaliyah was quietly unraveling one page, one classroom at a time. And Mr. Carrigan? He wasn't just a bitter teacher with a grudge. He was in the journal. Not by name, but by description. The same sneer, the same ring on his finger. A man once protected by the system, but feared by those who knew the truth. A man who, if the journal was right, had made someone disappear. The more Aaliyah read, the clearer it became. This wasn't just school. It was a game of shadows, of history repeating itself. And the man standing at the blackboard every morning, mocking her intelligence, might be the final piece of a puzzle her grandmother died trying to solve. But as she turned the next brittle page and found a torn photo, half a face, familiar eyes, and a single line scrawled in red ink, her heart stalled. If you find this, he knows you're close. Aaliyah looked up, and Mr. Carrigan was staring right at her, not at her notebook, not at her hands, at her, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. So now the question wasn't whether she was smart enough to outmatch him. It was whether she was ready for what he was about to do next. Because what happens when the teacher realizes the student knows his darkest secret? Aaliyah's breath caught in her throat as Mr. Carrigan's cold gaze bore into hers, the classroom around them seeming to dissolve into a suffocating silence. The words scrawled in red ink haunted her like a warning from the past. If you find this, he knows you're close. Her fingers trembled as she closed the leather journal, hiding it beneath her desk as if the worn pages could somehow protect her from what was coming. But the truth had already taken root, and there was no turning back. Miss Monroe, Mr. Carrigan's voice was low, smooth, but edged with something dangerous. Since you're so eager to participate, why don't you share with us the cause of the Great Depression? Aaliyah lifted her head, steadying her voice despite the storm building inside her. The stock market crash of 1929 was the trigger, but underlying causes included unequal wealth distribution, bank failures, and poor agricultural policies. A few students glanced at her, some impressed, others wary. Mr. Carrigan's lips tightened into a thin line. Very textbook. But what? About the human cost, the story's not in the official books, he challenged. Have you ever wondered why some things are left out of history? She hesitated, sensing the shift in the air, like the calm before a violent storm. History isn't always as simple as dates and events, sir. Sometimes it's about hidden secrets, things people don't want to face. A faint flicker of surprise crossed Mr. Kerrigan's face before he masked it with a smirk. Bold words, but you should be careful where you dig, Aaliyah. Some stones are better left unturned. The bell rang sharply, slicing through the tension like a knife. Students packed their bags hurriedly, eager to escape the electric charge that lingered. Aaliyah gathered her things slowly, feeling eyes on her, curious, cautious. As she stepped out into the crowded hallway, a familiar voice called out, "Hey, Aaliyah, wait up!" It was Jake Reynolds, the star quarterback with an easy smile and a surprisingly gentle demeanor beneath his confident exterior. He was the kind of guy who could break a locker with one punch, but also kept his little sister's drawings taped inside his locker. Jake had been one of the few who had welcomed her quietly, sensing there was more beneath her quiet intelligence. "What's up, Jake?" she asked, slipping her journal into her backpack. He glanced around, lowering his voice. "I saw Mr. Kerrigan, staring at you like you were a threat or something. You okay?" Aaliyah shrugged, forcing a smile. "He doesn't like people who ask questions, especially the right ones." Jake's brow furrowed. "That guy gives me the creeps, but if anyone can handle it, it's you." Before she could reply, another voice cut in from behind them. "Don't let him get to you," said Maya Brooks, her best friend since middle school. Maya was all sharp edges and bold colors, her bright hair and fearless attitude a perfect counterpoint to Aaliyah's quiet resolve. "We've seen teachers try to intimidate you before. They always back down." Aaliyah appreciated the solidarity, but knew this was different. The tension felt deeper, like the dark past of this school was bleeding into the present, dragging them all into something bigger than a mere classroom feud. Later that evening, back home in the cramped but cozy kitchen of her grandfather's old house, Aaliyah opened the journal again. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the walls as she traced the faded handwriting. Grover Hill isn't just a school, it's a cage. The phrase echoed like a riddle. Suddenly her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Stop digging or you'll regret it." Her heart pounded. Who could it be? Was Mr. Kerrigan already watching her every move? Or was there someone else lurking behind the family drama, woven through the town's history? The next day, Aaliyah shared what she found with Maya and Jake during lunch in the school courtyard. Their faces grew serious as she spoke. "This journal, it talks about people who disappeared. Teachers, students, all connected to this place. And Mr. Kerrigan, he's mentioned in it. Not by name, but enough to know he's part of the unfolding mystery." Jake punched his palm. "We can't just sit on this. If there's something dark going on, we need to find out what it is." Maya nodded fiercely. "But we have to be smart about it. Someone's already threatening you. This goes way beyond schoolyard bullying." Aaliyah swallowed hard. The weight of their words settled around her like a thick fog. "What if it's not just about me being too smart?" she whispered. "What if my family's history is tangled up in something no one wants uncovered?" The three shared a glance charged with fear and determination. They were about to step into a world of hidden secrets and dangerous truths, where every answer could lead to another question, and every ally could be a hidden enemy. As the final bell rang, signaling the end of another day at Grover Hill Academy, Aaliyah couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The shadows were closing in, and the lines between friend and foe were beginning to blur. Would she be ready to face the darkness that awaited? Or would the secrets buried deep within Grover Hill swallow her whole? Night had settled like a heavy curtain over Grover Hill, but the small town wasn't asleep. Somewhere beneath the surface of its quiet streets and aging homes, a pulse throbbed, a secret rhythm that few dared to hear, but many felt in their bones. For Aaliyah Monroe, that pulse was becoming impossible to ignore. The next morning, her Phone vibrated again, but this time it was a photo. Grainy, black and white, showing a classroom from decades ago. In the back row, a figure hunched over a desk. The face was blurred, but a chilling familiarity hit Aaliyah in the chest. It was Mr. Kerrigan, or someone who looked just like him. The caption read, "They tried to warn us, but he never left." Her hands trembled as she showed the photo to Jake and Maya in the corner of the school library, the hushed whispers of other students like distant thunder around them. "Okay," Jake said, frowning. "This is getting way beyond school drama. What if this guy's been here forever? Like some kind of ghost?" Maya rolled her eyes but didn't dismiss it. "You're talking about supernatural stuff now. That's exactly how the adults around here keep people from asking real questions." Aaliyah nodded slowly, the pieces clicking into place with uncomfortable clarity. The journal mentioned dark pasts and unexplained events. Maybe this isn't just about bullying or hidden secrets. Maybe danger is lurking in ways we can't see. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a cold draft swept through the room. The three froze, eyes darting to the windows. Outside, the branches of an ancient oak tree scratched like claws against the glass as if warning them to stop digging. That evening, Aaliyah's grandfather, a quiet man with weathered hands and eyes that had seen too much, sat her down by the fire. His voice was barely a whisper. "There are things in Grover Hill that shouldn't be spoken of," he said, fingers tightening around a faded photograph of a young woman. "Your grandmother got too close once. That's why she left, and why she kept that journal hidden." "Why would she run?" Aaliyah asked, heart pounding. "Because some darkness never dies," he answered, "and some secrets demand a price. The past, it's not done with us yet." As days passed, strange things began to happen. Books fell off shelves in the library. Whispers echoed down empty hallways, and shadows moved where no one should be. Aaliyah caught glimpses of a figure in the corner of her eye, always just out of reach. The mystery deepened, wrapping itself tighter around her, pulling her into a web she couldn't escape. At school, Mr. Kerrigan's behavior grew more erratic. One day, he cornered Aaliyah after class, voice low and threatening. "You think you're smarter than me, don't you?" he hissed. "Be careful. Not all knowledge is a gift. Some truths will destroy you." But Aaliyah refused to back down. "I'm not afraid of you or your secrets." His eyes darkened. "You will be soon enough." That night, Aaliyah's dreams were invaded by flickering images. Her grandmother's face pleading, a classroom engulfed in shadows, the sound of a child's cry lost in time. She woke gasping, the journal lying open on her bedside table, a new message inked on the margins. "Trust no one. Even the closest are not safe." Her heart ached with emotional turmoil. Who could she trust? Jake? Maya? Her grandfather? Or was the entire town a part of the tangled mystery? When she arrived at school the next morning, the corridors felt different, thicker, heavier. Maya pulled her aside, eyes wide with fear. "I overheard teachers talking," she whispered. "There's been disappearances here before, not just students but entire families, and the school board covers it up." Jake appeared behind them, jaw clenched. "We're running out of time. Whatever this is, it's getting stronger." Suddenly, the intercom crackled, and Mr. Kerrigan's voice echoed through the halls, colder than ever. "Aaliyah Monroe, report to my office immediately." As she walked toward the door, every step felt like walking deeper into a trap. The walls seemed to close in, the shadows thickening, and somewhere in the darkness just beyond the light, something was waiting. How far was she willing to go to uncover the truth? And what price would she pay when the shocking revelations finally came to light? The flickering fluorescent lights in Mr. Kerrigan's office cast long, twisted shadows across the cracked linoleum floor, the stale air thick with an unsettling stillness. Aaliyah's footsteps echoed softly as she crossed the threshold, her heart pounding in sync with the slow, rhythmic ticking of an ancient clock mounted crookedly on the wall. This was the moment everything she thought she knew would shatter. Kerrigan sat behind his desk, eyes sharp, almost predatory. but beneath the surface lay a flicker of something unexpected, a hint of desperation. The classroom bully, the cold enforcer, suddenly seemed like a man trapped in a nightmare of his own making. "Sit down," he said, voice low, almost pleading. "There's something you need to understand, something I should have told you. A long time ago." Aaliyah hesitated, then lowered herself into the chair, senses on high alert. The room felt colder now, like the walls themselves were closing in. Mr. Kerrigan exhaled slowly. "You think this is about me trying to intimidate a smart girl, but it's much darker than that." His fingers trembled as he pulled from a drawer a faded, yellowed photo, a black and white image of a young woman with striking features. Leah froze. It was her grandmother. "This woman," Kerrigan whispered, "was my sister. And what happened to her? It's the dark secret that's been poisoning this town for decades." Aaliyah's breath caught. "Your sister? But why? How is this connected to me?" Kerrigan's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Because your family and mine have been tangled in this family drama longer than you realize. The disappearances, the shadows. It all started with her." He explained how years ago his sister had been investigating the same unexplained events Aaliyah was now uncovering. She discovered truths that threatened powerful people, secrets some would kill to keep buried. "She was silenced," Kerrigan said bitterly, voice cracking. "And I've been haunted by her fate ever since. I tried to protect this school, this town, but I failed." Aaliyah felt the ground shift beneath her. Everything she believed was twisting into something unrecognizable. The man who bullied her, who threatened her, was tied to her in ways she never imagined. An unexpected betrayal unfolded before her eyes, not just from Kerrigan, but from the town itself. Suddenly, the door slammed open. Jake and Maya burst in, faces pale with urgency. "We found something," Jake gasped, pulling out a crumpled piece of paper from his backpack. "It's a list, names of people who vanished over the years. Your grandmother's name is on it." Maya's voice shook. "And there's more. We think someone inside the school is involved." High tension crackled in the room like electricity. The walls seemed to close tighter, shadows stretching longer, whispering secrets that clawed at the edges of their sanity. Kerrigan looked between them, desperation now plain. "You don't know who to trust. Everyone is hiding something." Aaliyah's mind raced, emotions swirling, anger, fear, confusion, but above all a fierce determination. "Then we find the truth," she said, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "No matter the cost." As they prepared to leave, the lights flickered once more, plunging the room into darkness. A single chilling whisper echoed, barely audible. "They're watching, and they won't stop." Aaliyah's heart hammered as the world around her seemed to tilt into shadow. Who could they trust? And would the dark secrets uncovered bring salvation or doom? The cliffhanger moment left them all suspended on the edge of a nightmare. And the story was only beginning. The air in the hallway outside Mr. Kerrigan's office felt charged, almost electric, as Aaliyah, Jake, and Maya stepped back into the dim corridors of Grover Hill High. The fluorescent lights hummed faintly above them, their glow flickering as if struggling to hold back an encroaching darkness. Each step they took seemed heavier, the weight of the dark secrets now pressing down with unbearable force. Aaliyah's mind raced. The revelation about her grandmother's connection to Mr. Kerrigan's family had ripped open a wound she didn't know existed. A family mystery tangled with pain, betrayal, and danger lurking just beneath the surface. She glanced at Jake and Maya, their faces mirroring her own mix of shock and resolve. They weren't just classmates anymore. They were allies in a battle none of them had signed up for. "We have to be careful," Maya whispered, her voice barely audible. "If someone inside this school is involved, they could be watching us right now." Jake nodded, eyes scanning the empty hallway. "Yeah, this isn't just about creepy stories anymore. The mystery unravels faster than I expected." The trio agreed to keep their investigation quiet, knowing the wrong move could trigger unforeseen consequences. But the rising tension was impossible to ignore. Every glance, every whispered conversation seemed to hide 1,000 unspoken threats. Back at Alia's house, the walls that once felt like a refuge now closed in like silent witnesses to the unfolding chaos. Her grandfather sat in his worn armchair, the flicker of the fireplace casting long shadows on his lined face. "You're stirring up a hornet's nest," he warned, voice grave. "The past doesn't want to be disturbed. There are people, powerful people, who thrive in the darkness." Alia swallowed hard, the emotional conflict gnawing at her heart. She wanted answers, but the price was becoming clearer by the minute. Late that night, as a storm raged outside, the phone rang. Alia's hands shook as she answered, only to hear heavy breathing on the other end. Then a chilling whisper, "Stop digging, or you'll be next." The danger grows, and so does the fear. The following days brought strange occurrences. Locker doors slammed shut on their own, school security cameras mysteriously went offline, and cryptic notes appeared, warning them to back off. Yet, with every threat, Alia's determination hardened. She, Jake, and Maya scoured old newspapers, piecing together reports of missing students and teachers, each disappearance tied to a chilling pattern. They uncovered tales of a secret society operating within the town's shadows, an organization with roots that twisted deep into Grover Hill's history. During a tense confrontation in the library, Maya confided, "It feels like we're not just fighting a person, but a whole system built on lies and silence." Jake clenched his fists. "If they've kept this hidden for so long, imagine what else they're capable of." Alia's eyes burned with fierce resolve. "We have to expose them. For my grandmother, for everyone who disappeared." But as they dug deeper, the stakes escalated. The school principal, once a distant figure, suddenly took a keen interest in their activities, shadowing their movements with unnerving precision. Friends they once trusted began acting strangely, withholding information and offering cryptic warnings. One afternoon, as the trio met to share their latest findings, the lights flickered violently before plunging the room into darkness. A single voice echoed through the empty library, cold and unmistakable. "You can't run from the past. It's already inside you." The mystery deepened with every heartbeat, pulling them further into a labyrinth of deceit and danger, where trust was a luxury they could no longer afford. And amid it all, Alia realized one terrifying truth. To uncover the secrets buried beneath Grover Hill, she might have to face the darkest parts of herself, and the town she thought she knew. The storm outside intensified, thunder rumbling like a warning. In the shadows, unseen eyes watched, waiting for their next move. Would Alia and her friends survive the rising tension, or be swallowed by the very darkness they sought to expose? The answer hovered just beyond the edge of fear. A question that demanded a reckoning. The night was thick with rain and the kind of silence that screams before the storm. Grover Hill High, usually a place of mundane routines, had transformed into the battleground for a final showdown. A desperate confrontation where the ultimate truth would no longer hide behind whispers and shadows. Alia, Jake, and Maya stood at the edge of the abandoned old wing of the school, their breaths visible in the cold night air. Every heartbeat echoed like a drumbeat of impending fate. The air buzzed with electricity, danger reaching its peak. They clutched flashlights, phones, and the battered folder containing all their evidence, proof of the dark conspiracy that had haunted their town for decades. "Once we step inside," Jake whispered, voice taut with tension, "there's no turning back." Maya's eyes flickered with equal parts fear and resolve. "We have to face it head on. No more running." Alia swallowed hard, the weight of everything pressing down on her. This was more than a school mystery now. It was personal. Her grandmother's name, the disappearances, the lies. Everything was about to explode in the open. They slipped inside the wing, the heavy metal door creaking behind them like a scream in the night. The hallways were choked with shadows, peeling paint, and the stale scent of neglect. Their footsteps reverberated, each step a countdown to reckoning. Suddenly, a harsh voice broke the silence. You think you can expose us, after all these years? The principal, cold and commanding, stepped from the shadows, flanked by two imposing figures. You have no idea what you're meddling with. Aaliyah's pulse thundered. We're not afraid of your lies anymore. The principal smiled thinly. Fear is only the beginning. The confrontation spiraled fast. Accusations, threats, and desperate bargains exchanged under flickering lights. As Jake tried to move forward with the evidence, one of the guards lunged, knocking the folder from their hands. Papers scattered across the cracked floor like fallen leaves in a storm. In the chaos, Aaliyah's voice rang clear. You silenced my grandmother and countless others, but you can't silence the truth. Suddenly, the sound of sirens wailed outside, backup they hadn't expected. Maya had called the police earlier, risking everything. The principal's face twisted in rage, realizing the game was up. With a final defiant glare, Aaliyah grabbed the folder, clutching the dark secrets that would finally bring justice. The police flooded the scene, and the principal and his cronies were handcuffed amid shouts and flashing lights. In the aftermath, as dawn broke over Grover Hill, the emotional weight of victory settled heavy but hopeful. Aaliyah stood with Jake and Maya outside the school, watching as reporters swarmed the scene, the truth finally unraveling before the world. I never imagined we'd get this far, Jake admitted, exhaustion softening his features. Maya nodded, a small smile breaking through the fatigue. It's more than just solving a mystery. We exposed a whole web of lies. Aaliyah took a deep breath, feeling the cool morning air fill her lungs. My grandmother would be proud, and this town can finally start healing. The emotional climax gave way to reflection. Lessons learned in courage, friendship, and resilience. The shadows that once haunted Grover Hill began to recede, replaced by a fragile light of hope. As the trio parted ways that morning, each carried a piece of the journey within them, a strength born from darkness. Aaliyah's last glance back at the school was filled with quiet determination. The past had tried to bury them, but together they had risen. The moving conclusion left an imprint, not just a story of dark secrets uncovered, but one of growth, justice, and the unbreakable spirit that refuses to be silenced. And somewhere in the distance, the whisper of the wind seemed to promise. This was only the beginning.